So I see that you are teaching Standard 1, and my first question to you is, why did you choose literacy centers or stations for this standard?
Okay, I kind of went back and forth. I was going to do a whole group lesson, and then I thought, for this standard, I think my stations fit really well because there's 4 different standards or 4 different stations, and each one of them kind of cover the cognitive. There's the linguistic with the speaking. There's social, so they're in social groups. Emotional needs are met because I have special needs students. I have intensive English students. I have the other students, and they all are working together, and they're kind of learning how to get along. Physical areas of students, they're moving around a lot for stations, and they have a lot of hands-on tools or manipulatives that they use usually. And so I thought that would be a really good lesson to focus in on for the standard.
That's a good point. So my next question for you is, since we're in the beginning of the school year, this is the second week of school, and of course procedures and routines are set. Have they done any literacy centers already?
Yes, last week we practiced our first round of stations. So mostly I just had them do really easy things at each station so that even if they messed up or failed, it would be fine because it was practice. And I also had I have a chart back here. I don't know if you can see it, but I had them look at the chart and actually look at their locations and practice their locations. So I had a whistle, like a train whistle. Here's my whistle.
We have to hear the train whistle.
Yeah, I gotta do my whistle. So when they heard this whistle, that was their cue to practice moving and transitioning with their group. So we spent almost the first 15 minutes just kind of going, I would say station 1, and they would all move to the place where they would go. So they got an idea of just how to move. So we spent almost the whole first period or that first time just practicing movement.
One more question I have after reading through your lesson that looks really detailed, and I am wondering how long your stations last per. Okay, so you have 4 stations.
Yes.
And you're going to rotate.
Yes.
How long?
Good question. So it depends on, I always have a smart board visual that they can see of all the different things they're going to be doing, and I go through a little explanation for each one, so when they get there, they know exactly what they're going to do. So usually, depending on how long those explanations take, the stations are between 12 and 15 minutes. Oh, and I also, on those station days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, the introductory activity is journal writing. So we spend 10 minutes journal writing, and then we move into the stations. Forgot to mention that.
Is there anything else that you think I would need to know before I come to observe?
I might show you just where the locations will be, so when you come, you know where to go. But I did want to ask you, when you looked over the materials and resources, is there anything, I have the things listed for each station that I think I'll need, but is there anything when you looked that you thought, that doesn't make sense, or maybe she should have this, or do you see anything that I could be missing? Or?
So I thought that it seemed very thorough, very clear, and it felt like you have already done this, so it felt like you've seen this and it makes sense. It also feels, I'd like to rotate through and see,
Okay.
but it also feels very, fun and comfortable.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and actually I think stations ends up being my students' one of their favorite things about reading and writing class. They can't wait for stations. Usually there's some kind of competition or craft or something that makes it fun each time. Actually all of them are fun, but usually there's especially one station they all want to get to. But yeah, we can get up and I'll just show you real quickly the placement around the room. Okay, so this is where I will be doing the actual instruction. The smart board will be up here. I'll have the instructions for them. We'll kind of go through it. The first station is the handwriting station, and that is independent. That's the only independent one, and they actually will get their handwriting books. They know to get them. They get them out from here, and they bring them to their own desk, and then they work at the certain lesson that they're assigned for that day. Then for the next station is other, and that is usually back here at the square table with Miss Andrea, and I give her instructions beforehand so she knows what she'll be doing with the students. And then the third station is usually over here at the round Mrs. Gunther table, and each one has a label so that they know where to go. It's not set up right now, but that station this week will be the story chart, and I'll be working with the students here. And then the last station, it's not set up yet either because that will be Tuesday, but up front, this is where they have pillows, and I have a little thing with clipboards and the little worksheets they'll be using, and they spread out, they practice getting into a semicircle and working in their group. And this is a station where there's no teacher, so they're not super monitored, which is good because I like them to learn how to do it themselves. If I need to, I'll come over here and kind of help them out if they need it, but usually they do great. Whenever they finish work, or even if it's not finished, at the end of the station, it goes into the completed work or homework box. And then one last thing I'll show you. This is the chart that they can look at so that they know exactly where to go. So for station 1, they can look right down, and if they're in the yellow group, they can look across, oh, I'm with Mrs. Gunther. Or if they're in station 1, blue group can look across, oh, I'm with handwriting. So they all get 4 different spots. And what I did this year that I like is, instead of writing names permanently, I laminate it, and I can change groups anytime I want. So once I have them all leveled, I can put them in different groups, and that way it's not stuck and I don't have to do it all over. I can switch groups throughout the year. So that's kind of real quick. Hey!
I don't think so. I look forward to seeing your lesson.
I'm glad you're going to get to come or watch it on video, however it works out the best. Okay, bye.